Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. The Most High, the Heavenly Father, his Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shai. So gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah Korash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all Israel, whether accepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all the Akim pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwath who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Orlando Camp coming at you another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification, another daily edification. Lord witness be edifying. This is for educational purposes only. This is not for monetary gain. I do not own a copyright to these videos. This is for educational purposes only. Lord willing, this be edifying. Now, title this lesson, War. What is it good for? To destroy these nations.
Glad that you're here with us. All right, I want to show you something now that I think is absolutely fascinating. This is the image of U.S. military exercises off the coast of China, and that's where they're taking place, right there. This is one of a bevy of military exercises that is taking place in that region that our military has conducted right there, as you can see, right there in China's backyard. It's been continual over the last year or so during both this administration and the previous administration. And don't think for 1 minute that it's gone unnoticed by Beijing. They call it a provocation and compare it to, well, the Chinese Navy all of a sudden showing up or conducting military exercises, say, off the coast of Puerto Rico. And now I want to show you an image of military exercises that are being conducted in the Black Sea. This one's off the coast of Russia. Those pictures right there. That's what those represent. And that too did not sit well. Russian analysts say it would be like the Russian Navy conducting military exercises all of a sudden one day off the Gulf of Mexico. So what are the Russian and Chinese doing about these military exercises, which they describe as an affront to their sovereignty? No, no, they're not sending their navies to conduct military exercises off of the coast of the United States. What they're doing instead may just be as eye-opening, though. These two countries, right, China, Russia, they're conducting historic joint military exercises where, for the first time ever, Russian and Chinese troops are exchanging, sharing weapons with each other. Like, here's what we use, here's what you use. Hey, why don't we just share these weapons? And that means Russian troops are going to be using Chinese weapons. Is our foreign policy causing, or maybe better said, pushing these two countries, China and Russia, traditional enemies of the United States, into each other's arms? It's an interesting question, isn't it? This is the news with Rick Sanchez, where we believe it's stories like this, when we look into them, when we drill down, that proves that it really is. Time to do news again. All right, so I'm thinking as you watch this newscast, there's some things that are going to probably come to mind. And these are the questions I think you might be thinking about. What is the message that China and Russia are jointly sending Washington? The Taliban now control Afghanistan again. What will the U.S. do about it? And why do Democrats push out Andrew Cuomo, their highest profile leader? All right. It's a sentence that makes the West stand up, take notice, and certainly pay attention. The fact that Russians, as I mentioned a little while ago, are going to be conducting military exercises while using Chinese weapons. It should send alarm bells across places like Washington, London, Paris. This is what the West is waking up to. The news that the Chinese and Russian militaries are coming together in China's north central region this week, with a Chinese official describing the exercises as joint anti-terrorism operations aimed at demonstrating the firm determination and strength of the two countries. It reads like a PR statement.
Now you see, this is Russia and China being anti-Babylon the Great, man, which is against Babylon the Great, which other nations is going to join Russia. As I tell you in Ezekiel 38, that Russia shall be a guard to the other nations, man. This is Russia and China being anti-Babylon the Great, which is against Babylon the Great, man. This is prophecy playing out.
When it comes to maintaining regional stability, that is what the U.S. says it is doing in the South China Sea, where Washington has increased military drills in the name of sending Beijing a message. China has ramped up its own presence in the South China Sea, which it says is crucial for global trade. And now Russia is joining in to provide maritime patrols. Beijing has repeatedly warned Washington that there will be consequences if it continues exercises in its, quote, backyard. Russia has similar concerns and complaints amid increased run-ins with the U.S. by air and water over the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. Both sides accuse the other of violating rules of engagement. The U.S. says it's representing NATO, while Russia says, yes, but it's in our territory. This also comes weeks after the U.S. partnered with Ukraine for a set of military exercises in the Black Sea. The Biden administration has made no secret about the fact that Russia and China are its two main targets on the global stage, and they want Congress to support the administration's $1 trillion infrastructure package to send both countries a message.
This is particularly important now because it's no secret to any of us that the Chinese and Russian governments, among others, are making the argument in public and in private that the United States is in decline. So it's better to cast your lot with their authoritarian visions for the world than with our democratic one.
All right, joining us now to discuss these latest rounds of military drills is a former member of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski, served for many years in the U.S. Air Force and has often not been shy about criticizing our foreign policy. All right, let's start with this. You wake up one day and you find out that the Chinese and the Russians are having joint military exercises, and to boot, they're actually sharing military equipment and sharing weapons. What do you think of when you hear that headline?
Now, I'm going to read this because you heard what the U.S. Secretary of State said. This is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 8. Obadiah chapter 1, verse 7. Now, when you're reading Revelation 7, it tells you that the angels are holding back the four winds, right? Until the elect get sealed. So, when you see things playing out right now as they are making mandates, right? They're making mandates. They pushing the charagma. Okay, you can call it also known as the all in Exodus 21:6, right? When people make someone their master, they have to bore their ear through an all. So they're making mandates, and they making the all eventually be made mandatory. Those are part of wins, man, that the angels is holding back until the elect gets sealed. But it will be made mandatory. So as that's happening, you got World War III brewing up, right? You got famines brewing. You got pestilences is brewing. Martial law is being brewed up. All these things, famine, pestilence, and the sword is brewing up, man. So when they say the angels are holding back the four winds, meaning the destruction that's going to hit Babylon the Great, first and foremost, and then all other parts of the world. So as the angels are holding these things back, they are brewing up, and it's pressure, and pressure always busts the pipe. So when the elect gets sealed, the Lord will have the angels to let all that pressure go, man, and destruction gonna hit from all sides, man. That's what's going on. This is Obadiah 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. All what men of thy confederacy? Every nation that's joined, all the allies that's joined to Babylon the Great, is going to separate, and they're going to join Gog and Magog, which is Russia. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, which is future prophecy, saying that you will be destroyed by these other nations. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, there is none understanding in him. It said they that eat thy bread. It tell you in Revelation 18, all the kings of the earth, all the nations that committed fornication with her, that lived deliciously off her delicacies, is going to turn against Babylon the Great.
Well, it sounds like from the Pentagon's perspective, that there's an alliance against the Pentagon going on amongst two pretty well-funded countries with pretty, well-armed militaries. This is probably, I mean, Nixon went to China in order to split the Sino-Soviet linkage and potential for an alliance. We don't have anybody like that to split it, and we don't have any agendas that will do anything but continue to, as you said, push these two countries together in some ways. Now, both of those countries value their sovereignty very, very much, and neither Russia or China are calling anything that they're doing and have been doing for the past several years as an alliance. They don't consider it an alliance. It's a good neighbor policy is how they view it.
Is it maybe more about just suddenly having mutual interests? And I don't want to certainly put words in your mouth, Colonel, but would it seem that there may be a point to be made that the United States, our country, has been aggressive enough to cause them to come together?
Well, there's a couple of problems, and I think Blinken, in your clip with Anthony Blinken, when he said the world is thinking the United States is in decline, I thought that was very revealing, because of course that is what the world thinks. And when empires decline, they become unpredictable and unreliable. And we certainly, our actions overseas in the South China Sea and the Black Sea, really around the world, it's anything but democratic, and it is everything like a totalitarian push for control. So this is how I think most likely the Chinese communists and the if you want to call the Russians a dictatorship. I mean, we have our names for their forms of government, but they certainly are reading the situation, I think, very correctly, very wisely, and very prudently. I mean, this is a George Herbert Walker Bush moment. It's what's prudent to do, and it's very prudent for the Chinese and the Russians to improve communications and consider how they may respond to threats. And of course, one of the key rationales for this exercise that they're doing, the one you're reporting on, has to do with fighting terrorism. And some of that does aim back to a newly, perhaps unstable Afghanistan, although I would say it's been unstable for a long time. But we've pulled out of Afghanistan. There may be a power vacuum. Taliban may or may not be cooperative with either China or Russia. So they have to be prepared for that. And that could be a terroristic threat of some sort. It makes sense.
When the Russians say, what the hell are you guys doing in the Black Sea? I mean, come on. You're right on our shores. I mean, this is offensive. When they say that, and I'm not saying I'm agreeing with them, are they right to be protesting that?
Well, whether they're right or wrong, it's certainly natural and predictable that they would be concerned, if nothing else, for the possibility of an accidental incident. Some years ago, not too long ago, we had our own ships in the Pacific crashing into each other and crashing into ports. And we fired a few captains and admirals, I guess. But, I wouldn't want the U.S. Navy in a small body of water near land and near my country. I wouldn't want it just for safety purposes. So I think there's a natural resistance to that. And I mean, clearly, and you've pointed this out before. If you turn the tables, my God, the United States would go crazy. The people would be insane if we had either Chinese or Russian navies in the Gulf of Mexico.
And you see, that's why this is key, man. Obadiah 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Hey, they said Babylon the Great army is in the Black Seas, man. You coming to the border of these other nations, man. Of Russia. You coming up against China. The borders is them getting ready, preparing for World War III, man.
We have no idea what our government is doing. In fact, I checked the Drudge Report headlines just to see what's in the news. Nothing on any exercises that we do. Nothing that we're doing now. Nothing about the upcoming North Korean exercises, and really at this point, nothing on the Russia-China exercises. So, if this becomes a useful propaganda point, they'll throw it on the American population, and nobody's going to think about it. But in real life, mature adults running the world, what China and Russia are doing, it makes perfect sense, and I imagine and fully expect them to continue it.
Well, yeah, and that bears the question about whether we're causing it. Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski, as usual, my thanks to you for...
Hey, in the end, everybody's tired of Babylon the Great. They are causing it, man. Now, that video was titled, Sharing Weapons, China Announces War Gains with Russia. Let's get this.
Второй групповой авиационный удар Конфедерации выходит в район сосредоточения резервов противника. С обстановкой и принятым решением подразделением прикрытия государственной границы. Ольга!
War. What is it good for? To destroy these nations. I gotta run this back. Salaki. Right here. You see that? That's how the missiles, when them 200 million missiles in Revelation 9 and 16 get shot off, that's how they gonna look, man. Let's run in the back. This is how they're gonna look, man. That's how 200 million missiles is gonna look getting shot off, man. One more time. Yeah. 200 million missiles, man. And this video say thousands of Russians, Uzbek, and Tajik troops rehearse turning back enemy offensive on Afghan border. Let's get this one. War. What is it good for? To destroy these nations.
Nearly half a century ago, these two neighbours fought a brief border war. But the latest China-Russia military drills show that hostility is now in the past. In this mock battle, the enemy is unnamed. It's a military partnership that's strengthening, thanks in part to both countries' worsening relations with the United States.
If you say it's a marriage of convenience, that underestimates the depth of their shared interests. And of course, the biggest one is opposing America and undermining America and the West. And that's extremely important in explaining the strength of the current China-Russia relationship.
10,000 soldiers are taking part in the exercise, which will last for 5 days, the 30th such war games since 2003. Russia's President Vladimir Putin and China's leader Xi Jinping recently boasted that their countries' relationship was now unbreakable. And Moscow and Beijing appear to be in agreement on Afghanistan. Both were highly critical of the decision to withdraw all US troops by September, with concerns that Afghanistan, which borders China, could again become a haven for armed groups like Al-Qaeda. When China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi met Taliban officials last month, he urged the delegation to distance themselves from what he called terrorist groups. Analysts say it signaled concerns that China and other countries will be left to deal with the fallout of the rapid US withdrawal.
Why did Biden push this so suddenly and so severely? And within Chinese circles, also Russian and some other places, they believe that this was, basically saying, okay, we broke it, but it's not in our backyard, it's in yours. Russia, China, Tajikistan, all the rest of the stands.
More war games, also involving Russia, but this time with a force from Uzbekistan, a joint special forces drill close to the Afghan border, preparing for whatever scenario that may unfold from the Taliban's rising gains in the battlefield.
Well, what's brewing is World War III, man. And we've been telling you, start with the Apostle Great Millstone. They've been warning you what's being brewed up. Again, Obadiah 1:7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. This is Revelation chapter 9 and verse 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. Woe is talking about what? Wars. Revelation 11:14. The second woe is past. The second world war is past. And behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Which is what? World War III, man. And this is Isaiah 9:5, and it reads, For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. And this is how they fought in the ancient time. Shields, swords, daggers, and spears, helmets, and body armor. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. That's how they fought in the old time. But this, what, World War III? But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. From what? Intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. As we see right here. And that's how they're going to be shot off, man. 200 million. Let's read it. Revelation chapter 9 and 16 reads, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. 200,000 is 200 million. And when I read this verse in my 1465 King James Bible, it say 200 million. It don't say 200,000. 200,000 is 200 million. Talking about missiles, man. So, what's about to go down? World War III. Why? To destroy these nations. This is Isaiah 34:1. And it reads, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Abishai, is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them, which is a future prophecy. Let you know he done destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. When they go over there to fight in that valley of Yahweh Shaphat, the mountains shall be melted with their blood, man. This is the Lord gathering all these nations. For what? To destroy them, man. Why? Because you put your hands on the apple of the Lord's eye, which are so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. All 17 of these heathen nations put their hands on Israelites, and you got to pay for it. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. This is the Lord gathering these nations to do what? To fight, man. World War III. So Lord willing is edifying. Gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, to all the apostles and elders of all of Israel, ready to accept it or not. And a sincere salutation to all the Ark pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. Shalom to the Akwath who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. The Lord wills edifying. Till next time I say Shalom, Wa Abar Babal. The water for tuning in. May Yahweh Shema shall continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. Closing precept. Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Hold on, let me get one more. Salakia. Exodus 15:3. It reads, the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, is a man of war. The Lord is his name. So what's going on? This is the Lord's movement. Let's read this. Isaiah chapter 13 in verse 5 reads, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. You see that? Let me get one more. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and 25. And it reads, the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, opened his armory, and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, which are the missiles, them intercontinental ballistic missiles. For this is the work of the Lord, power of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Only thing gonna be left in North America, Babylon the Great, is a desert wilderness, man. Till next time, I say shalom, wa abba.